So let us pray. In the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Glory to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. As it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. On the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. So again, good afternoon. Share ko lang itong screen. Yung. Okay, yan. So, kita naman, no? Guys, kita ba?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, yan, no? Tapos na tayo dun sa introduction to the society, ng political philosophy. So, let's go now sa ating first philosopher na si Aristotle. Na actually, dapat mauna si Plato, pero masyado kasing, hindi naman komplikado, pero ang tawag dito, masyadong broad pa, kumbaga, yung masyadong mahaba pa, at masyadong mahaba pala yung ano niya, tungkol sa Plato's Republic. So, kay Aristotle muna tayo. No? So, according to Aristotle, sabi niya, man is social by nature. No? In his work, Politics, no? Aristotle explained how virtuous lives of individual citizens are supported by the political community itself. He believed that achieving virtue and acquiring a sense of self-identity requires social interaction and working with others. No, no man is an island para sa kanya. Kasi nga, man is a social by nature, sabi niya. No? Being a member of society, no, using his term, the city, is the natural state of man. Humans are by nature social creatures who live in grounds and life in community. No, yung the city ang sinasabi niya is necessary for a complete human life. Note that Aristotle, the city, represents the pinnacle of societal structure. It starts with the families. Families form villages, and villages grow to become cities, the centers of culture. Di ba? Marami yung dati yung about sa topic natin noon na about society, di ba? Para magkaroon ng society, first of all, kailangan magkaroon ng family muna, no? And it becomes families for villages, and villages grows to become a city or society. No? Besides, the notion of a city naturally precedes that of a family or an individual. For the whole must necessarily be prior to the parts. No? For if you take away the whole man, you cannot say a foot or a hand remains, unless by equivocations, a supposing of a hand of a stone to be made. But that would only be a dead one. But everything is understood to be this or that by its energetic qualities and powers, so that when this no longer remain, neither can that be said to be the same, but something of the same name. The city then precedes an individual is plain. For if an individual is not himself sufficient to compose a perfect government, he is to a city as other parts are to a whole. But he that is incapable of society or so complete himself as not one it makes no part of a city, as best or as beast or God. So for short dito, hindi mo pwede may-take yung hindi mo masabi sa society pag wala yung mga individual families, no, na kung saan ito yung bumubuo sa isang society, no? Ito lang yung sinasabi dito. And there is then in all persons a natural impetus to associate with each other in this manner. And he who first founded civil society was the cause of the greatest good. No? For as by the completion of it, man is the most excellent of all living beings. So without law and justice, he would be the worst of all. For nothing is so difficult to subdue as injustice in arms. But this arms man is born with, namely prudence and valor, which he may apply to those most opposite purposes. For he who abuses them will be the most wicked, the most cruel, the most lustful, and the most gluttonous being imaginable. For justice is a political virtue, with the rules of its the state and regulated, and these rules are criterion of what is right. Um, Diba, meron tayong society. And again, para kay Aristotle, man is a social being. Yung first one to create a civil society was the cause of the greatest good, sabi nga niya. Again, ano yung buo sa isang government? Yung last time na ano natin, topic natin, di ba? So about laws and rules. Para kay Aristotle, malaga ang mga laws, rules. Kasi nga, justice kumbaga sa kanya, no? For justice is a political virtue, sabi niya, no? With the rules of its the state is regulated, and these rules are criterion for what is right, no? Kumbaga criteria yung rules and laws sa isang society, no? A precise explanation of Aristotle's conception of a just state is elusive, no? Kumbaga parang panaginip lang. Kung sinasabi mo yung ang isang city is just state lang. No, recall from the ethics unit, topic of virtue ethics na Aristotle, kung napagdaanan niyo na to sa inyong ethics noon, no? Or ngayon kay Sir Matt, sana patandaan niyo pa to, no? Yung kanyang virtue ethics. So Aristotle concept of virtuous actions and acquiring virtuous character, an individual, sabi niya, with all well-developed virtuous character, understand if a particular situation is just or not. The just society has no fixed rule, but the virtuous person chooses just action and understand why such actions are just. No, again, you know, the just society has no fixed rules. Tama yan. Hindi lahat ng law, again, no, hindi lahat ng law ay tama. No, you should know that, no? Hindi tamang, for example, the death penalty na kung saan eager silang ipasa ito. Now, where in fact, death penalty is hindi siya ethically good. No? Ito yung sinasabi dito na hindi lang basta just state, no? Dapat yung intindihin ng mga tao na kumbaga dapat lahat ng individual with a well-developed virtuous character understands if a particular situation is just or not. Yun ang malaga dito sa isa city na sinasabi ni Aristotle. Kaya nga sa kanyang city or society dito, mahalaga ang democracy, no? So matatakal natin mamaya. So Aristotle asserts that all communities aim at some good, no? The state or polis in Greek, by which he means a city-state, no? Such as Athens is the highest kind of community. So Athens is the first city sa Greek na kung saan ito yung kumbaga ito yung role model na city that time. No? Is the highest kind of community aiming at the highest of goods. The most primitive communities are families of men and women, masters and slaves. Families combine to make a village, and several villages combine to make a state, which is the first self-sufficient community. The state is no less natural than a family. This is proved by the fact that the human beings have the power of speech, the purpose of which is to set forth the expedient and inexpedient. And therefore, likewise, the just and the unjust, the foundation of the state was the greatest of benefactions. Because only within the state can human beings fully fulfill their potential. Kumbaga dito no, sa city-state na to, di ba, kung family lang tayo, or kung kunyari si George, kung family lang siya ng 2 to 3 families niya, within the families niya, di ba parang mahirap mabuhay. Kumbaga yung sinasabi ni Aristotle na being fulfill their potential kasi it's magtulungan lahat ng family to make a better community or to make a better society. Kaya doon nabubuo yung city. So, government, no, Aristotle says, must be in the hands of one, of a few, or of the many. And governments may govern for the general good or for the good of the rulers. Government by a single person for the general good is called monarchy. No? Alam mo sa monarchy, no? For private benefit, tyranny. Government by minority is aristocracy. If it aims to the state best interest and oligarchy, no? Oligarchy? Well, basta yun. If it benefits only the ruling minority, popular government in the common interest, Aristotle calls polity. He reserves the word democracy for anarchic mode rule. If a community contains an individual or family of outstanding excellence, then Aristotle says monarchy is the best constitution. No, again, if a community contains an individual or family of outstanding excellence, then Aristotle says monarchy is the best constitution. Kung magaling yung isang family na kung saan meron silang royal blood or something sa about monarchy, hindi silang mag-rule. But such a case is very rare, di ba? Lahat ng sa history ng past natin, no? Sa history natin, walang best na monarchy, no? Lahat sila may mga flaws. Then if one attains kumbaga siya na yung hari, pinaka-powerful, every now and then in the past, no, parang ano pa sila, parang meron pa silang parang eagerness na kumuha pa ng power. Kaya hindi lahat ng monarchy in the past is successful or mabuting government, no? Ito yung sinasabi ni Aristotle, no? Sabi nga dito, let's continue. But such a case is very rare, and the risk of miscarriage is great. No, miscarriage is great, for monarchy corrupts into tyranny, which is the worst constitution of all. Aristocracy, in theory, is the next best constitution after monarchy. Sabi dito, because the ruling minority will be the best qualified to rule. But in the practice of Aristotle, he prepared a kind of constitutional democracy. For what he called polity is a state in which rich and poor respect each other. Rights and the best qualified citizen rule with the consent of all. So, kumbaga itong politika dito ito rin yung tatawag na democracy. Pero ayaw pa niya sabihin yan kasi nga, kumbaga, wala pang perfect democracy, no? Wala pang perfect democracy na country that time, no? Pero sabi niya dito, yun talaga ang gusto niya, no? Is a state, yung polity is a state in which rich and poor respect each other rights, and the best qualified citizen rules with the consent of all. So, let's continue. Two elements of Aristotle's teaching affected European political institution for many centuries. His justification of slavery and his condemnation of usury. Some people, Aristotle says, think that the rule of a master over slave is contrary to nature of therefore unjust. But they are quite wrong. A slave is someone who is by nature not his own property but someone else. Aristotle agrees, however, that in practice much slavery is unjust, and he speculates that if non-living machine could be made to carry out menial tasks, there would be no need for slaves as living tools. Nevertheless, some people are so inferior and brutish that it's better for them to be controlled by a master than to be left to their own devices. Kumbaga yung Yung standpoint ni Aristotle about slavery, hindi siya against about slavery, pero dapat huwag mo abusuhin kumbaga. Kung meron namang tools na kung kayang gawin yung mga bagay or day-to-day life mo, yun ang gamitin mo. Pero kung may slave ka naman, huwag mong pahirapan mabuti. Yun lang yung gusto kong sabihin dito. No? Meron din yung mga slaves natin or ibang tao na sobrang mahirap turuan or slow learner. So dapat huwag mo siyang abusihin o kumbaga. No, turuan mo, no, control them by master, no? Dapat control them para alam nila yung gagawin nila kumbaga. No? So although not himself an aristocrat, Aristotle had an aristocratic disdain for commerce. Our possession, he says, have two uses, proper and improper. No? Sa ano tayo dito sa business side na tayo ni Aristotle. Money, sabi ni Aristotle, too has a proper and an improper use. Its proper use is to be exchanged for goods and services, not to be lent out at interest. Of all the methods of making money, taking a bread from barren metal is the most unnatural. Basta yung, para sa kanya, yung money na yan, yung proper use niya is to be exchanged for goods and services lang. Nothing more, no? So, in summary, Aristotle's view and his picture of human nature is that humans are social, political creatures in their natural state of nature. Capabilities for speech, no, yung communication, and reason foster a cooperative life with others. There is no pre-social state of nature. Humans by nature are social and expand their social organization beyond the family. Together, individuals build cities, and the best interest of the city or society is more important than the interest of individuals. No? Ito yung main point ni Aristotle na sinasabi niya, man by nature is social. Aristotle's views that humans are social by nature stands in contrast to that of other philosophers who see human nature often articulated as a state of nature, as less than social, possibly even chaotic. The agenda of each philosophers we will meet next is to justify the government bodies and or social principles essential for members of society to enjoy good or just life. So yun lang muna tayo guys, no? Sana naman awatable, no? Na wherein Aristotle nasasabi dito sa isang good government, no, or yung parang kumbaga yung parang perfect government sa kanya, yung natawag niyang democracy. Pero hindi niya magamit to kasi nga wala pa siya nakikitang perfect democracy. Even in Athens, kumbaga, yung sinasabi niya dito. So, kuha ba guys? Ano bang tanong? No? Okay naman? Okay naman. Ano, tulog kayo?
Sir Pao,
Up?
sir, pwedeng may yung mga PowerPoint, sir?
Ngayon, display ko iyan yun. I-send sa inyo. Huwag kayo mag-alala. And then yung exam nyo sa akin, huwag kayo din mag-alala. Mabait ako sa exam. Tawag dito, isasabi ko na sa midterm yung exam nyo. No? Essay type lang naman guys. Huwag kayo mag-alala. No? Sana walang copy-paste. Yun, Aristotle, no? Basic lang naman yung ang gusto niyang sabihin sa kanyang about political philosophy na again na kung saan yung city na sinasabi niya or society, yung society niya which means city, ano yan, George? Bakit rin Pokemon ka? So yun, yung city na sinasabi niya na polity, no? Ay yung gamitin yung democracy na yun kasi nga wala pa siya nakikitang perfect na city na pwede yung paggamitan ng democracy, no? Lahat ng lahat ng gusto niyang ipakita dun sa isang city na kung saan social dapat lahat ng tao and there is one goal na kung saan dapat mag-strive yung society nila, no? Society nila. So yun naman. And then, ano pa ba? Yun lang muna guys. So, di ba sabi ko, sige, saglit lang tayo. Okay ba? So, see you again bukas no, for our class. So, yun lang muna guys. Thank you very much for attending my class, no?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Then, see you again tomorrow. No?
Thank you, sir.
Ingat kayo palagi. Ingat kayo palagi.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Bye.
sir.
Yes, sir. Sa'yo din.